Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another Borderlands 3 video, and today I want to talk more about weapons. I mean, it's a game with a lot of guns, right? But I want to talk specifically in this video more so about weapons for particular Vault Hunters. We've done videos on some of the best weapons you guys should get. If you haven't seen those, I'll link them down below, but this time I want to speak about weapons that are especially good for certain Vault Hunters. Doesn't mean to say you can't use them on other Vault Hunters, and there is of course some crossover here. Some of them are good for multiple classes, but given that we've been kind of running through with our particular characters and we kind of sort of got our favourite weapons, I thought it'd be fun to just kind of put this together. So if you guys are playing as a particular Vault Hunter, you might be like, oh yeah, that's a good weapon for Mose, that's a good weapon for Amara, that kind of thing. So we're going to kick things off and we're going to start with Mose. The very first gun I want to talk about is the cocky Flacco. You guys might have seen this before, we've kind of mentioned this in a couple of builds before, but this works really well for Mose because she has a lot of stuff that works around explosive damage. Now yes, there have been some changes recently in the patch notes to slightly lessen the effectiveness of some of those kind of grenade spam builds, but basically Mose has a lot of things that benefit from large splash damage, the ability to kind of create larger explosions, and of course benefit from those explosions. So with a weapon like the cocky Flacco, which is a torque shotgun, you basically pull the trigger and it deploys this huge volley of explosions. It's basically like a firework gun. It's a sight to behold, but it also synergizes incredibly nicely with a lot of her builds.
Get good or get dead, scrub.
On top of that, another option you have is the Rubies Wrath rocket launcher. This is an Atlas one. It just looks really cool as it is. It's one of those kind of arm-mounted ones, and of course, being the Atlas weapons, they have those rather interesting perks around them. But this one specifically is good because, again, it leans into the whole splash damage stuff. A lot of stuff from Mose, while not exclusively the only way she can play, a lot of stuff kind of really does benefit around splash damage. This has a huge splash damage radius bonus, and this is probably one of the better rocket launchers you can use for Mose because it shields great results, dishes out a huge volley of rockets, and of course you then get the benefit from all the splash damage from the individual rockets. Another weapon that's really good, that is maybe a little bit unconventional for the kind of sort of conventional Mose mindset, but the Dastardly Maggie is a Jacob's pistol, one of those ones that, you know, fires really fast, and it doesn't have the kind of crit returning bullets to the magazine bonus, but it does have the one whereby critical hits ricochet one bullet to the nearest enemy. But if you pair that with some of the perks in Mose's trees, you can add explosive shots to your bullet shots, and of course in the process of doing that you effectively get splash damage. Essentially the kind of running theme for Mose is anything that has a large degree of splash damage is generally pretty good, and of course, you know, being the fact that you can kind of get that off of a revolver, which you can fire really fast, you know, as fast as you can pull the trigger, then this actually yields some great results. There is another one that is actually really good. A lot of people really like this one, which is the laser exploder. Unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to get that one to drop for us just yet, so I can't show you that in this video, but there's a few things for Mose. Now, there is another weapon that TwoSixNine does typically use in his build, and this is kind of a crossover, so we're going to blend Mose into Flack and talk about Lucian's Call, because Lucian's Call is a really nice weapon. It's one of the cool weapons, and generally speaking, if it has Call in the name, it means it returns bullets to the magazine on critical hits. So you understand if you're Flack, the purpose behind this is that of course it allows you to keep firing. You activate Gorillas in the Mist, even though the duration for that has now dropped down to 5 seconds, you can still use it really well. And what I specifically like about Lucian's Call, the one that I run, is it has cryo on it. And I mentioned this before in one of my build videos, videos, but for the times when fadeaway is on cooldown, the nice thing about having the cryo one is that with an assault rifle, it's not exactly hard to land critical hits, but if an enemy's moving around, it can also be possible to kind of miss some of those shots. So if you have cryo and you can slow them down and freeze them, it makes it incredibly easy to land critical hits and reliably proc this even without Gorillas in the Mist active. So for that reason, I like this just as sort of like the interim, almost kind of the weapon that I go to when my skills are on cooldown, because it's very reliable, does a great deal of damage, and just is an easy way to proc that crit skill. So Lucian's cool, very good weapon. Of course, another one for Flak is the Luda, in this case the Nuclear Vicious Luda. My one has radiation damage on this. This is just the sniper rifle that, you know, has a machine gun barrel, fires incredibly fast, does have a small magazine, but for every single shot you fire out 3 bullets, because of course you got that nice triple barrel. It just does a lot of damage, right? You are going to rip through your magazine pretty fast, but again, if you pair that with Fade Away, you pair that with Flak skills, you have a really nice crit build, you can melt enemies. It is one of those ones where, you know, if you do happen to have, say, a tankier enemy and you don't necessarily kill it straight away, you will be reloading quite a bit. But pair this with all your skills, have everything lined up nicely, get, of course, your bonuses lined up, get your kill skills and, of course, your on-hit skills procced, and then go into Fade Away, and you will again melt everything standing in your way. And being a sniper, it does still actually have, you know, I mean, it is one of those ones that's better used at medium range given the rapid fire, but it is still a weapon that you can use for some kind of precision if you need to.
You cannot take me.
And of course, the third weapon is Queen's Call. Now, I've spoken about this recently. I actually did a dedicated video on this gun if you guys haven't seen it. Yes, it has changed since the nerf. Yes, it does fire slower. Yes, it has had a slight damage reduction, but this is still a good gun. This is not a gun you want to sleep on, and if you are Flak, again, anything that returns bullets to the magazine on critical hit is generally speaking pretty good, but this does still yield great results. Set it up nicely, have your skills, go into Fade Away, and while yes, you might not melt things in like the blink of an eye like you used to, you can still melt things pretty damn fast. And this kind of applies to both Queen's Call and King's Call. I only have this one, so that's why I'm talking about it, but any of those cool pistols, fire fast, do some good damage. It's a win-win situation. This one has radiation, which of course is really nice, and it has the additional bonus whereby when you land those shots, you have these additional kind of homing projectiles that zoom back in, which looks really cool anyway. It's kind of good because if you happen to get caught off guard and you have to reload, then it kind of guarantees you get a few more hits in, and pair that with Fade Away where you get the additional projectiles, then you can get a ton of bullets firing into those enemies, which kind of helps to take them out quickly. Then moving on from there, let's talk about some of the options for Zane. One of the really good weapons is actually the shredded Scourge rocket launcher. This is a Torg rocket launcher with a huge splash damage radius. It consumes 4 ammo per shot. What's nice about this one is that it's really good for crowd control with the auto homing rockets that it shoots as it travels, and you kind of have this massive burst damage when it hits with all the mini rockets around it. It's also kind of, I mean, I know it might not necessarily be the thing you guys do that much, but if you happen to like doing duels in Borderlands, it's really nice because you can shoot it, you can run, you can clone swap, and then your opponent's taking constant damage from the rockets in the process. Of course, on top of that, you also have the influential Butcher, an incredibly powerful weapon. This is one of those ones that just hits really hard. It's the Hyperion shotgun. Of course, meaning you have that handy shield if you want it, but let's be honest, the reason we're talking about this one mainly is because it does an incredible amount of damage. It also has a very high fire rate, so it's a really good combo with Zane when you get those damage, rate of fire, and extra projectile kill perks. And if you happen to get like a nice anointed roll for Zane, you might also get the 50% bonus damage on top. So this one is just sort of like a good, reliable damage output, but pairing that with Zane's kill skills, you can get some really great potential out of this gun. Then finally, turning our attention to Amara, we have a few weapons here. We have the undermining crossroad, which is a nice Hyperion SMG. This one happens to be radiation damage. The nice thing about this one is it does come in all elements, and it shoots a 6-round burst of 4 bullets each. Essentially, this is just a really good way to pump high elemental damage into a target. So obviously, if you happen to be running an Amara elemental build, then this is just a good way to like really pump in that elemental damage. Of course, you can then benefit from it, and then if you happen to get this in various different permutations, you can do it based on the the elemental weakness of the targets that you are fighting.
The winner gets to show me their own face. If you're just tuning in, this is Who Wants to Bang a Bazillionaire, where 4 contestants fight to the death to win one night with me, Kill. We've got a great lineup of contestants today, including a vault thief fighting for the sexalicious.
Of course, I can't talk about weapons for Amara without talking about the facepuncher. This is, of course, the, you guys have heard it before, it's the shotgun that fires melee damage. Basically, if you're running the Amara melee build and you are really spec'd for high melee damage, this is a gun for you. It's a shotgun, and every pellet basically scales based on your melee damage. It still benefits from gun damage increased perks, but largely speaking, you're basically firing out punches. And then lastly, we also have the Brainstormer, another shotgun, the cash-infused Brainstormer. This one is, of course, a shock element. The nice thing about this is that when you shoot an enemy, there will be elemental arc shocks that basically spread to all nearby targets. And it's a good way to deal shock element damage to basically every target in a moderate vicinity. Again, very good for elemental builds. So if you happen to have something that, benefits from, attacking multiple targets, trying to spread that element, this is another nice one. You can just fire it into a crowd and just laugh as you see these huge electric shock explosions. So, that's pretty much it. That's a rundown of some of the weapons that we are running as in a team for our respective Vault Hunters. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have got any favourites for your Vault Hunter, maybe for your build, something that maybe we didn't mention. But either way, that's it for the time being. Be sure to keep it locked for plenty more Borderlands content. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and also click on the little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. Also, don't forget, you can check out 269 and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. Be sure to drop by and get involved. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.